Okay, today I'm going to show you how to install an Xtreme Mat under sink cabinet mat with a cabinet that actually has plumbing coming up from the base of the cabinet. So some things you're going to need is a drill, step bit or bore bit that I'd talked about previously, pencil, razor blade, marker which will help, and definitely a tape measure. So put this out of here. And first I want to go kind of explain what we need to do with the piping coming up from the bottom of the cabinet. So first, I would basically slide the mat into the cabinet as close as you can get to the first pipe that you're going to run into. It could be supply lines, it could be a drain pipe, somewhere else in the cabinet. But at least putting the mat in here, you can get good fitment, understand how it's going to fit in your cabinet, what kind of spacing you'll have on the side, maybe a 1/4 inch, maybe it's going to be more of a snug fit. In this instance right here, we're going to push it up against the first line here and kind of take a measurement from the center of the pipe here to the edge of the mat. Not to the edge of the cabinet. You take it to the edge of the cabinet, when you pull all of your measurements off this wall, the mat is actually going to slide all the way over to the right, leaving a little more space on the left. So if we kind of center it as close as we can and take our measurements from the center of the pipe to the right edge of the mat, now the mat, once you drill both holes, will actually be centered in the cabinet when you place it. So in this instance here, which we'll start, and this is the way I'm going to do it for this instructions, is let's start measuring from here to the center of the pipe. So here we are 5 inches. So I would come over from the edge of the mat here and kind of get close enough to draw in a line that is 5 inches. And then I would go to the back. And I might have to get further in here and say, okay, looks like here, 5 1/8 gets me to the center of this pipe. So I would go to the mat and run right at 5 1/8, which is right there. And I would go back to the edge of the mat and look at what the center of your next pipe would be, which here is 8 3/4. And you can use a pencil or something to kind of give you a good eyeball on where exactly that is. So somewhere around here, we're going to do 8 3/4. Make the mark a little larger, a little bigger, and then go from the back. So it looks like I'm right at 3 3/4. So I'm going to go 3 3/4. It's right around there. So now I've kind of created 2 lines, 2 marks that I believe are the center based on where I've measured. Kind of step back, like out of the cabinet. You can even put a pencil down, kind of look and see if everything kind of lines up with your 2 lines. Just to, you always want to check 2 or 3 times before you cut the mat. So once you cut it, you're done. And the only way to make it a little better is to make the hole larger, which we're trying to make it as tight of a fit around the pipe so we can seal it up easier and a nice tight and clean fit. So I'm going to measure one more time, back of the mat, 3 3/4 to the center of the pipe. From here, 3 3/4, 5 1/4, and I'm 5 1/4. Okay. So now that I've done that, you don't want to drill into your cabinet for this purpose because I'm going to show you on camera. I'm actually going to put a little kind of wedge like this underneath here, so you can drill that in the cabinet. And the step bit here, there's different measurements you may be able to see, maybe not. For that 1/2 inch, just so I have a little bit of play, I'm going to do and try to drill into 3/4 of a diameter. The reason I mentioned a circle is what I would do is actually put a little mark here on that bit. So when you see it spin, the more of a mark you put, the easier to let you know how far you're going to go into that mat, so you don't go too big and so you don't have to go back and forth if it's not large enough. So here, I'll start it. And then I'm going to actually probably lift it up here. So there's 1. Oops, I put more pressure. So here I've started. I'm gonna lift the mat up a little bit and go into that black mark. And you're gonna see that kind of bends, creates a cone shape, which we're gonna have to go in from the backside to kind of get that, because we made it hot with the drill bit. So because it is a plastic, it does kind of create a new mold, or just thins out and creates that cone shape. So same thing with this one. Okay, so from there, you'll see if you had a solid surface and you were actually going into like a block, it's going to hold that plastic down. It's not going to create that that bend or that flex. So here, I'm going to pull the mat out, put it back in for you. Flip it upside down. So here we can see what I'm talking about. So I would go in the same distance to that mark. You don't want to push in too hard, just lightly. It's going to start pulling that extra material away. So that you can pull off. Also, I've used this bit a lot, so it's a little less forgiving, but let's see here. And also the way I'm doing this, so I can show you on camera. It's looking a little better, creating that shape I was telling you about. So now that we've got those out, you can kind of see, what's going to happen here. And now what I'll do is grab a razor blade, and I'm going to cut through the rear wall of the mat. So I'm going to put this back underneath here, and I'm going to take a razor blade. If you want to use a ruler, you could. So there's one. There's some chains here. Okay. So now I'll pull out that from the bottom. Let me see, there's some debris underneath here. Now as I get up to these mats, in this example, grab both. Oops. And now you can see the mat's kind of in there. If you made the hole larger, if you want it for some reason to come more over to one side than the other, I would go back and make that hole a little bit bigger. And there's a pretty tight fit right there. Everything's laying down nice and flat. So in this instance here, after I was all done, I'd grab something like 100% silicone. I prefer clear because you're not going to get a color probably going to match perfect to the beige here. And then run a bead of silicone down the wall through through basically where we cut the razor blade, and then generously around both pipes. If you have an issue, maybe there's something underneath here holding this piece up to where it's not wanting to lay, I would put some double stick tape underneath here on both sides, down so it lays flat. And at that point, then when you run the bead of silicone, it's going to seal up. It'll seal laying flat, and it'll look nice and custom. So that is how we would install, or how you do install, an under sink cabinet mat with plumbing coming up from the base of the cabinet.